Hello everyone and welcome back to the Red Riot Games YouTube channel. My name is Cyrus Davis and this is sort of a welcome back for me to the Red Riot Games YouTube channel. I haven't made a video for Red Riot Games in a couple of years now, but I'm very excited to be back. Today I'm going to be doing some commentary over my game from Peoria Regionals where I made top 16 with Arceus Goodra. This is the list that I played. I was on stream for the round 15 winning in. And I'm just going to go over my game. We're going to watch through it a little bit sped up and sort of review the plays that I make, and I'll sort of talk about them, see maybe what I could have done differently, what my opponent could have done differently. But we have the list here to touch on some things that might be important. The double Ordinary Rod is super important here. I'm playing against Liam Petrie, who is playing Palkia and Inteleon. One of their biggest ways to take their last prize cards against Goodra tends to be to Echoing Horn for a basic Pokemon. Double Ordinary Rod, just make sure that you are usually not going to have any Pokemon in the discard pile. Obviously, there are going to be extenuating circumstances, but overall, very solid. The double Avery also is very strong against Palkia as well. They tend to have to fill their events to do a decent amount of damage to your Goodra in particular. So to sort of punish them for that by Avaring, and maybe they lose some Sobbles, maybe they lose Greninja at some point, just slows them down a little bit. Big Charm's going to be super important in this matchup. The math works out really sort of perfectly for them without Big Charm in a lot of scenarios. And Gardevoir is going to sort of help for the same thing. Obviously, it doesn't really impact the subspace swell math, but allows you to survive a Hydro Break from a Palkia V with a choice spell. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the video. So we start by setting up our prizes. Nothing too big prize from either of us. Crystal Cave could be a little bit annoying if I get pathed. Scoop of Net, he plays 4, I believe, so he's kind of fine with that. The Big Charm means I'm going to have a less likely chance of finding it, but overall, not super bad prizes from either of us. We're going to go ahead and set up. Let me just make sure. We'll speed it up a little bit more. So we're going to quick ball away the Zamazenta here. Not very useful, not an amazing Echoing Horn target for him here, and he's not going to be able to, or at least want to, find his Echoing Horn this early either. Just having to search for other things to deal with the pressure that I put on by attacking. And I can't see my hand here. I think I might have a Rod as well. But we play 2, so either way, lots of ways to find it. Now, I don't have an energy attachment turn 1 here, which is huge. It means I'm going to be basically a full turn behind. Not where you want to be, especially against Palkia. But this matchup is relatively favored for Goodra in general. So I'm not... There's still a way for me to come back, but I believe I'm also sitting on no... I think I have a Research for next turn at least. I have a Research, a Boss, maybe a Rod. So I am not, like, terribly poorly off, but do not have the energy for turn, which is going to be huge. Everyone just doing his prize checking, getting a couple basic Pokemon down. Ideally for me next turn, if I can find an Arceus V-Star and just Starburst to like switch double Turbo Energy and get another Arceus V down to Trinity Charge at least. Obviously, ideally, if I can find all of that without Starburst, that would be amazing, but not very likely. Yeah, so I did have the Ordinary Rod in hand anyways, and I figured my opponent wasn't going to Echoing Horn turn 1, so just Ordinary Rod the Zamazenta back in, play the Research, put down the Gardevoir, to play around Hydro Break a little bit. I didn't really want to lose the Gardevoir. My opponent started putting a decent amount of pressure on me. I found the double Turbo Energy, but no switch, so it's going to be another pass. This isn't like... The situation's not terrible. Definitely can still pull the game out of this one. Just a little on the back foot, which is fine. It's just kind of like going second at this point, because we missed the turn 1 attachment, but we were going first, so we had a sort of an extra turn. So, you know, now our opponent's going to get an attack right before us, but we're still doing okay. We have Arceus V-Star, Trinity Nova next turn, hopefully, and then we can sort of glide through. My opponent's going to Concealed Cards here. He's sitting on a pretty big hand. I think Concealed Cards under double Battle VIP pass, but the rest of the hand's still pretty good. Just considering what to do here. He has a lot of options. He's got Choice Belt, Drizzile. Can probably take the knockout this turn. He needs Zigzagoon. Yeah, so Bucket. Yeah, so he can Quick Ball away the water, get another Palkia down. He can Star Portal onto the Palkia V-Star once he gets it out. And then Zigzagoon, Choice Belt to knock out this Goodra. So this puts my opponent in a very, very strong position. As long as he does it. He Drizzles for the... Okay, he actually just hits for... hits for 160, might have been missing a piece. He did Drizzle for Bucket, which I don't think he needed to. I think that he could have Quick Balled for... or Drizzled for maybe another Quick Ball or something like that. But opting to just soften up the Goodra and considering that to be enough seems okay. I have another double Turbo Energy. I'm going to go ahead and put that on the Arceus to start getting ready to Trinity Nova. I believe I have another Research here, which is why I'm Quick Balling away the Goodra V-Star. Obviously, it never feels good, but... Oh, okay, so yeah, I just have nothing here, actually. So I Quick Ball away the Goodra because there's not really a point in evolving it here if I'm just going to pass and it's going to get knocked out anyways. Yeah, so I just scoop. I really wanted to scoop early here. These games take a long time with Goodra, and I knew I wasn't going to win that game. Especially because my opponent could just boss my Arceus V and knock it out next turn with 2 double Turbo Energy on it, and all I would have is a Goodra V-Star with like 130 on it. So I just want to make sure that I have time for games 2 and 3, because I do like this matchup as long as I can set up. And game 1, I just did not find an Arceus V-Star, did not get set up. So game 2 is looking pretty good. I have the turn 1 double Turbo Energy onto the Arceus. So I mean, that in and of itself is very solid. And I believe I have a draw supporter for next turn or an Arceus V-Star, so we're doing okay. My opponent's gonna Irida, doing his turn 1 deck search again. Looks like he's already got quite a bit in hand. He's got the Greninja already. He's gonna battle the AP Pest for Palkia Sobble. Obviously, my opponent's not gonna do too much, but just like get some Pokemon out, get an energy on board this turn. Greninja, Concealed Cards into another Battle VIP pass. So opponent having a couple of pretty good starts here. My opponent does show like relatively well throughout this series, which is how it goes sometimes. I mean, sometimes, you know, that's why they play 4 Battle VIP pass, so that they can try to have them turn 1 as often as possible. I believe he did play an Irida for one of them. So yeah, it happens. And Goodra can usually overcome a good Palkia start still. Looks like I'm debating my Quick Ball discard here because I'm going to play Research. I just opted to discard the Gardevoir. Grab a Goodra. You know, maybe I don't even... Yeah, so I'm going to Quick Ball away the Gardevoir, Ultra Ball away those two, attach the double Turbo for turn, bench the Goodra, and then just attach the Big Charm to the bench Goodra and play the Research. Just want to make sure I get the Big Charm on the Goodra so it can't be knocked out by a Palkia V-Star with a Goon, Boss, and Choice Belt. Or Hydro Break. Although Goon, Boss, Choice Belt is probably a little bit easier in this situation. Oh, so I didn't have a draw supporter, sorry. I had just Big Charm Goodra, and then I Starbirth the Marnie to try to limit my opponent's options as much as possible. And then I didn't really know what my other Starburst target should be there, but I ended up going for Big Charm, which I do think was the strongest possible option. It gets the card out of the deck because I don't really want to draw into it. I really want to find like a Goodra V-Star next turn, maybe a switch, a draw supporter, maybe a boss. So it gets it out of the deck, and that extra 30 HP on Arceus V-Star can definitely be relevant when combined with stuff like Hyper Potions later on in the game. Especially because it has the second double turbo energy on it, meaning that Hyper Potion is going to be a much more viable option on it, because I can just Hyper Potion and attach a basic energy and get attacking again. I opted to Starburst the Marnie over the Research just because I already have almost everything that I need. I just need a Goodra V-Star at this point. So I'd rather just keep putting the disruption on my opponent, keep forcing them to find the pieces, make it as difficult as possible for them. The lights above us went out here, but they fix it in due time. I'm going to Drizziling for Bucket, grabbing 2 water. He's gotten a couple Drizziles out. He's already used his concealed cards. It doesn't look like he has a whole lot to do other than, yeah, he's just gonna hit into the Goodra, which is solid. You know, you're just gonna get the damage on it before it can evolve. That's the easiest way to deal with a Goodra V-Star. Now, my hand is not looking very good here. I attach energy, and then I have Arceus, Goodra, and yeah, Arceus, Goodra V, Ordinary Rod, Hyper Potion. I can't use the Hyper Potion to heal because I wouldn't be able to attack, and then I would just die anyways. So I opt to just hard retreat the Goodra while putting an energy on it, and then Trinity Nova to the other Goodra. That way I have, you know, I have the damaged Goodra ready to be set back up if need be, but I also have this fresh Goodra. Unfortunately, the fresh Goodra is pretty liable to potentially getting knocked out here. And that's definitely the play that my opponent should go for, I believe. So he's down 2 Cross Switcher, and the boss is prized. But he can grab Irida here. He's using Shitty Dealings Inteleon. So he could even grab Irida, Scoop Up Net, play the Scoop Up Net, go for Cross Switcher, and yeah, take the knockout that way. That he'd be doing 200 right now. So we just need to find his choice belt, which he would be able to find with by evolving the Sobble into the Drizzle that he scooped net. So that would probably be the best play here. I do think he grabbed Irida Scoop Up Net. That looked like he just Evolution Incensed for the Palkia. Goes ahead. See, this is a weird play here for my opponent. So my opponent has Inteleon in hand right now. Let me. I'll save the timestamp and come back to it. I just want to see. I don't remember what my opponent has prized here, other than I know he had 1 boss prized. Here we go. Okay, my opponent has a Cross Switcher prized. Okay. So he actually couldn't make that play because he didn't have any gusting options left in the deck, which I don't know if I love his Cross Switcher play last turn, considering he wasn't taking the knockout. And I think it's probably still the right call, but yeah, he has the Cross Switcher and a choice belt prized here, so he could not have taken the knockout on Goodra. So yeah, he just has to hit into the Arceus again. Yeah, and at this point, it's looking okay. I top decked the Marnie, so I'm in a much better position. I can play this Ordinary Rod, get some more energy back in the deck. I can go ahead and play the Marnie. As long as I can find like a Goodra V-Star, I'm like in a really good position here. Then I can start attacking. Both of his Palkia V-Stars have 180 damage on them already, so my Goodra V-Star is going to be able to take at least 4 prizes very quickly. I just need to find Goodra V-Star, and we're pretty much in the clear. Even after sort of not an amazing start, but not a bad one. I don't find a Goodra here, though. I throw the double Turbo Energy on the Goodra with no damage on it, because it's less likely to get knocked out, technically speaking, because my opponent needs the Choice Belt. So I'd rather have the longevity on that one of being able to Hyper Potion it later if it evolves into Goodra. But I also, I go ahead and Trinity Nova to the one with the damage on it. That way I have a second Goodra if need be. This is a pretty commanding position to be in as Goodra. We're 2 prizes up, and we have the potential to attack with 2 Goodra V-Star this game, which a lot of games you don't do. A lot of games you just have to solo it with 1 Goodra V-Star because your Arceus gets knocked out too quickly or something along those lines. But this game we're going to be able to go ahead and make my opponent deal with an Arceus V-Star and 2 individual Goodra V-Stars. So we're in a super, super commanding position. Even if I don't find a Goodra V-Star here, I can still take a knock on this Palkia. So I'm just going to attach an energy to the benched Goodra and Hyper Potion it. Put it down to only 60 damage on it. If I can find 2 Goodra V-Stars here, then the bench one should also be safe. Relatively speaking, my opponent still will have the potential to knock it out, but with Big Charm and the putting up the 300 HP if I can evolve it, we're in a very, very good position. Regardless here, I don't think I have the Goodra V-Star, yeah. So I'm just going to have to attack with Goodra V's attack, which does 140, and then reduce any damage done to Goodra on your opponent's next turn by 30, so it's like a mini version of Goodra V-Star's attack, which is not amazing, but it means that my opponent's going to have to do 250 damage to this Goodra V in order to one-shot it, which is not going to be something that he can do. So it kind of does the trick. Obviously I'd rather be reducing by 80, but that 50 damage isn't going to be insanely relevant here. Regardless, this Goodra's surviving. It's doing its job. It's taking 2 prizes, and I'm going to hopefully be able to find a Goodra V-Star next turn. My opponent here is just going to Evolution Instance for Inteleon. Shuffling the deck, meaning, I'm not sure, maybe I don't remember if he uses it. Maybe he just doesn't use Shitty Dealings here. Okay, yeah, he's Melanating first, that makes sense. So he's going to go ahead and draw 3 cards. I've got Zigzagoon. Yeah, really not a lot, to be honest. I mean, they're not bad cards, they're just not a lot of options for him here. We're definitely going to see a Hydro Break this turn, just to do 200 to the Goodra and make sure that it's as close to in range of knockout as possible next turn. Getting the Choice Belt on there, just putting on as much damage as possible. Hydro Break is usually going to do more against Goodra decks than Palkia V-Star will, because you limit your bench so much, so you'd like to Hydro Break first and then evolve and then attack with Palkia V-Star. And I mean, obviously he knows that his Palkia V is not getting one-shot. So I top deck a boss. Not amazing here, but I have an Avery, which is like super, super good here. And I decided to opt for it, I believe. So I quick ball away this research. Gonna grab the Gardevoir. I got the Goodra V-Star off the prizes, so I don't really need to hit anything off of this Avery. It's more of just a disruption supporter. But I would love to hit, like something like a Crystal Cave to heal even more damage. Be even more safe. He's going to lose his Zigzagoon and his Greninja here, which is going to limit his draw and his damage output. I found a double Turbo Energy, so this Goodra now is not only attacking, one of the biggest benefits to Goodra over Duraludon being that one colorless effect, meaning that you can fulfill that 3rd energy requirement with a double Turbo Energy. So not only am I going to be able to get the 200 damage on this Palkia, but I also get to set up for a Hyper Potion play in the future. My opponent has Echoing Horn Training Course, so he's going to be looking for Echoing Horn on a basic V, and then ideally he's doing 230 with Hydro Break, 210. Now this is the great part about that Zigzagoon going down. And he needs the Training Court if he's going to retreat here. So he can't path through the Gardevoir. And that Gardevoir, making it so that this Hydro Break is only going to do at most 210 to this Goodra. So it is going to survive. He's going to try to strand into the active with Roxanne. putting me in a slightly awkward position, but my deck is pretty small. Both my switch cards are in there, I believe. And we're not out yet, but we also haven't quite won yet, obviously. Now here I play Professor's Research. Now, I believe I find an escape rope here. Yeah, so I have an escape rope in hand, so I'm just looking at my opponent's discard pile, checking through their resources. I know that they just had to use Training Court in order to retreat. So, I've been checking my opponent's resources throughout the game, making sure I know what's in there. There are 4 Scoop Up Net in my opponent's discard pile, 4 water energy, and a Training Court. So I'm assuming that my opponent is out of ways to move this Sobble from the active to the best position. All of the cross switchers are in there, or at least 3 of them. And so I'm just gonna pass. My opponent thinks I knocked him out here, but yeah, I'm just gonna pass. And my opponent's gonna look at his prizes. He knows what's in his deck, and he knows that there's no way to move that Sobble from the active. So he would eventually deck out, and that's why he just scoops it up, and we go to game 3. And so that's sort of one of those awareness things where, if I took the knockout, if I wasn't sort of paying attention to my opponent's resources, and took the knockout, he might have just been able to, Hydro Break again, find something. If that boss wasn't prized, he could have just bossed, Hydro Breaked again. But even if the boss was in deck at that point, it didn't matter because there was no way for him to move that Sobble to the bench, and I was just going to keep passing because I knew that my opponent didn't have any way to do that. So we're going to start game 3. My opponent's going first, of course. Palkia loves going first. So does Arceus. He's going to go ahead and battle VIP Pass, get out Greninja and Palkia. A strategy as old as time itself. And I think he just goes concealed cards. He finds 2 Palkia V-Stars, so nothing really. I think that's just a pass with that hand. Looks like he debated. Yeah, he was. I'm not sure. But yeah, no other real options there. I have a Marnie, Arceus, Goodra. Now I had another Arceus in my hand I could have benched in case he knocked out my active, but that makes it so much easier for him to knock out the active. And all he's got is Sobble active, Greninja bench, Palkia bench. So the odds of him finding the knockout here are super unlikely. But if we see that hand there, it is actually the perfect 5 cards off of the Marnie +1 per turn to be able to take that knockout as long as he sees the line. So he's got double evolution incense here. He's going to grab Palkia, V-Star, and Drizzile. He has a level ball for the Zigzagoon. And I believe he's got an Irida. Shuffling here, but he's going back in. Yeah, so he goes Palkia V-Star, bench the Palkia V that he drew off the Marnie, evolving the Drizzile, getting Choice Belt, or Irida for Sobble Choice Belt. Yeah, and he's going to play the exact 5 cards that he drew off the Marnie +1 per turn and find every single piece that he needs here in order to take this knockout, which is pretty unfortunate. It's with Sobble active, Greninja bench, Palkia bench. Incredibly unlikely that my opponent hits the 5-card combo here to knock out that Arceus, but it happens. I'm just going to go ahead and bench an Arceus and play Escape Rope, which is pretty lucky to have. Pretty lucky to have the Arceus Rope. But obviously, if your opponent gets that lucky, you got to have a little bit to balance it out. So we research. I find double Turbo Energy Big Charm, and this looks like a decent way to come back into this game. We got the Trinity Charge off. This Arceus is not going to be able to be one-shot because of the Big Charm. So all things considered, with my opponent getting a turn 2 one-shot on that Arceus V, things went as well as they could have for me on that turn 2. However, I don't think that I have a lot else going for me in hand. I think I have a Marnie, maybe, to continue disrupting him, and we'll sort of see what he can put forward. Ideally, he can double cross switch to that Goodra V-Star like he tried to do with the Goodra V last turn. I haven't used my Star Birth yet though, so I can start Birth to find a switching card to get it out of the active, or maybe like a double turbo Hyper Potion, something along those lines. We're looking a little short on time now, 8 minutes 48 seconds. Might be enough time to finish the game, but not. We'd have to play pretty fast here. My opponent's going to Irida, find Inteleon, Scoop Up Net. Go ahead and play the Inteleon. Looks like he's going to find another Scoop Up Net and an Echoing Horn, which I'm not... So he can Echoing Horn the Arceus V if he wants and attack it, but you need a lot more pieces, you need double cross switches, so I don't actually think he has that play. So this is sort of a really weirdly played turn from my opponent. So he uses Inteleon to find Scoop Up Net, Echoing Horn, uses the Scoop Up Net to get out of the active, and then I believe just holds the Echoing Horn here, evolves a Sobble into another Drizzile to find another Scoop Up Net. So now my opponent has 2 Scoop Up Nets in hand, and an Echoing Horn, and he opted not to play the Echoing Horn. There's no reason not to opt to play the Echoing Horn here. Like, I understand the logic of it can evolve into Arceus V-Star, but if you're gonna search for it, he probably should have played it. Or just not search for it, maybe search for a Bucket. He didn't actually attach an energy for turn. Bucket probably would have been the best thing that he could have grabbed. And I want to talk about the play that I make here as well, actually. But yeah, realistically, should have grabbed Bucket instead of the Echoing Horn, and then just played the Scoop Up Net. Played the Drizzile for, I mean, if he still wanted the Scoop Up Net, another Scoop Up Net was fine off the Drizzile still. But because he searched for 2 Echoing Horn, or 2 Scoop Up Net and an Echoing Horn that turn, there was like easy decision to Marnie for me there. Put everything to the bottom, including Ishida Dealings and Inteleon. It just left him super vulnerable to a Marnie for not a lot of reason, and realistically could have went for like a concealed cards play with Bucket and Energy Attachment, which would have been a lot stronger for his board. But here, I have a decision here. Let's rewind and slow it down a little bit. So, my hand, off of the Marnie, I have Big Charm, I have Ordinary Rod, I have Crystal Cave, and I have Ultra Ball. I have Crystal Cave, Ordinary Rod, Ultra Ball, and Quick Ball. So I have 2 options here, and I do blunder a little bit. Now, I have access to Starburst still, but I also have access to Moisture Star at some point in the game if I want it, which is fantastic. But I have to assume that this Arceus V-Star is going to get knocked out on my opponent's next turn, which is going to put a basic Pokemon in my discard pile that I'm going to want to Ordinary Rod back. And it will take away the option of Starburst for me. So I can either use Trinity Nova here, just get damage on the Palkia, say, oh, you probably can find boss next turn anyways, I might as well just leave this Arceus active and make you deal with it, and then when you knock it out, next turn, I can Rod back in both of those Arceus V-Stars. That would be a pretty solid play. I can also retreat here, so that I can make sure I can start attacking with the Goodra, and have access to Moisture Star at some point. I can use the Starbirth to just find like a draw supporter or something along those lines, and start attacking with the Goodra, and then hold the Ordinary Rod for next turn, in case he boss knocks out the Arceus. Now what I do here is I retreat. I do opt to retreat, but then I don't use the Starbirth, and I play this Ordinary Rod. Now the blunder, not using the Starbirth is okay. I probably would be content with not using the Starbirth here and having access to Moisture Star still, but only if I held this Ordinary Rod to make sure that if my opponent boss knocks out this Arceus V-Star next turn, I can go ahead and Ordinary Rod that both V's back in. Or I don't really have any draw supporters for the foreseeable future, none in hand at least. So even if he doesn't knock out the Arceus V-Star this turn, I would still like to have access to that Ordinary Rod for the Arceus V-Star eventually. Because right now he can just knock out this Arceus V-Star, Echoing Horn and Arceus V, and then go ahead and knock that out. He doesn't ever have to knock out a Goodra. So I really need to hold this Ordinary Rod just to make sure I could put 2 Arceus back in. Now, with only 4 minutes and 22 seconds on the clock left, it might not end up mattering, but it's super important that I hold that Ordinary Rod there. Or if I'm gonna play the Ordinary Rod to make sure that my opponent doesn't Echoing Horn, like the logic to playing Ordinary Rod was making sure that my opponent didn't use their Echoing Horn before I could play the Ordinary Rod. But if I was gonna do that, then I should have at least used the Starbirth to find a Research or another Ordinary Rod to make sure that I still had access to get the other Arceus V back in the deck. But I don't have anything in hand still here. He did take knock on the Arceus V-Star, so all I can do is just go ahead and swing with Goodra into that Palkia, reducing his damage by 80, taking 2 prizes. So now he's going to go for that Echoing Horn play. He's going to Inteleon for Cross Switch or Echoing Horn, get the Arceus V on the bench. But I don't know, because I don't think he has the access to the full knockout on this Arceus here, which makes it a little bit awkward that he went for the Echoing Horn play, considering all I did was attack last turn. I didn't play any cards. So he knows I probably don't have a draw supporter. And I probably don't have, and I didn't play an Ordinary Rod last turn, so he knows I don't have an Ordinary Rod. So it's a sort of a weird play to use the Echoing Horn here when he knows I don't have anything in hand, really, because now he's just going to hit it for not quite enough. Maybe he doesn't have access to the Choice Belt. Might be prized. But yeah, I think the Choice Belt might be prized. So maybe he knew he was never going to knock it out. But by Echoing Horning this Arceus V, I am able to evolve into Arceus V-Star, get my Starbirth off. And now I have some more options. Now I have 2 plays here. I can either grab Hyper Potion, double Turbo Energy, and just guarantee the heal up this Arceus V-Star to try to make sure that it doesn't get knocked out next turn for my opponent's last 2 prize cards. But at that point, I'm still leaving myself with no other options in hand. Or I can grab Marnie, and whatever my more likely thing to draw here is. I know I've counted this point. Probably, I assume. Oh, so yeah. I'd have to have Marnie double Turbo Energy. If I wanted to try to win this game, now because I'm gonna need to find a boss next turn. I'm gonna need to find a lot more resources. I'm gonna need to find more Hyper Potions, stuff like that. And I'm gonna need to disrupt my opponent's hand. Now, time is called while I'm doing this search, which means that I can't go for a win. I just grabbed the double Turbo Hyper Potion and heal. But if I was trying to go for a win there, I absolutely would have went for the Marnie double Turbo Energy play, and just hope that I found the Hyper Potion off the Marnie. But in general, if I knew the clock was winding down, I knew that we were getting pretty short on time, and then time ended up getting called while I was making the search. So grabbing the double Turbo Hyper Potion, just the best way to secure myself a tie here. Now he does manage to find a Gust on the Arceus and hit it again, and then I don't find any way to get it out of the active. So the only play that I have is to boss this Palkia, and so to say, hey, you need Melanie and an energy attachment. And my opponent's relatively low on energy at this point as well. But he's going to thin his deck as much as possible. Yeah, I mean, he just needs to retreat. I think he probably has about 10 cards in deck with about 2, like maybe 1 bucket, 1 water. So he's going to shuffle up. He's going to play the Melanie and hope to draw an energy for turn. And he does not find an energy or any way to find an energy, which means we ended up tying. This was the win into top 8, which means we both were out of top 8 from the tie, but the tie got us both top 16, whereas if one of us lost, the player that lost would have been bumped out of top 16. So all in all, worked out. Both of us made top 16. Very unfortunate to have the tie there, especially after I feel like my opponent had relatively strong draws throughout all 3 games. Very strong setups, game 1 and game 2, and then that turn 2 subspace well for 210 off of the Marnie. In game 3, I whiffed turn 1 energy attachment game 1 and game 3. It's very lackluster starts. And then just some sort of dead hands in the middle of the game as well in game 3. But it is what it is. Managed to take the list all the way to top 16. And since then, the deck did win Salt Lake City Regionals with some slight variation. Chorus Experiment, Melanie's. I do touch on potential changes like those in the article that I wrote for the Red Riot Games website just the other week, which was published Friday before Salt Lake City, actually. So if you like Art Goodra and want to get some more insight on it, go ahead and check out that article on the Red Riot Games website. It is 4,000 words, everything you may need to know about Goodra. Goes over all of the some of my other games, and so I sort of talk about them, all the intricacies of the matchups, and sort of all the potential tech cards that you might want to play or add to the deck, or changes to make for the future. So go ahead and check that out. It will give you all the information that you need to know about this archetype. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Red Riot Games YouTube channel, and if you want to see what I'm up to, follow me on Twitter at Cyrus Davis TCG. Have a good one.